It's a new Kirblog. Da, da, da. Why are you doing a review of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when you just made a fucking announcement that you're making a video game? I don't know. Maybe it's because I didn't have time to do something more in-depth after this, and I thought this would just be a quick one, okay? It's not like it's not Mayrvel, even though I didn't do a full month of that anymore because I couldn't possibly fit an entire month's worth of Marvel-related Kirblogs, and not that they did very well last year. But I saw Guardians 2 about a week ago, and I had a good time, and I thought I would just tide things over and do a little review of it. I don't think I talked about my thoughts on Guardians actually when I did Mayrvel last year, because there just wasn't enough to say. But I guess just a quick overview of that. I went into it completely blind and knew absolutely nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy when I saw the first one. And in fact, actually, I think that I went to go see it, if I'm remembering correctly. Let me even check the date real quick. I believe that I saw it in the first year that I moved to California, because I remember seeing it with Xander Mobus when he was first kind of moving here. Shout out to him for not being around for this one. And I think Devin Mack might have even been visiting at the time, possibly. But I really enjoyed it. I think literally the only thing that I knew, it was 2014. Yeah, I think it was the year that I moved. It was right when Xander came in to move to California, like right after I did, and we saw it with him and a couple other people. I think the only thing I knew was Rocket Raccoon was like I just kind of recognized him from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and even then I didn't even know what his full deal was or anything. But what's been kind of nice about, I guess, the Marvel movies in general, even with the characters that I do recognize but also know little to nothing about, is by this point they just kind of have this pedigree of, like, generally most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies are all good enough that I know I'm going to have a good time. You know, like even I was just talking to, Martin was with us. I went with a big group of people to see Guardians 2, and we were talking about some of the not-so-great ones. And, like, Iron Man 2, I wouldn't probably ever want to watch again. But, like, I remember watching Thor Dark World, I think, leading up until... that's right, yeah, I watched Thor Dark World right before we went to go see Ultron a while ago. And I was like, this is okay. It's not amazing, but it's all right. Like, I'm entertained by this, I guess. I'm like, okay, whatever. So it's kind of like that in terms of just, I know I'm at least going to have a good time, and I'm going to... even with these characters that I go in like thinking I'm not going to know shit about them or whatever. Okay, but these movies generally are good enough that I'm going to grow to like these characters, and I did. And now it seems like, well, I mean, considering the fact there's a fucking Telltale game and an animated series and all that, I think Guardians is now within the public, eye and beloved enough that, they're confident enough to do that. But anyway... so I went into this one also pretty blind. I didn't even really know what the premise was going to be other than just it's the Guardians again, and Baby Groot is a thing. So I guess, by this point, spoilers, beware. So if you haven't seen it already, sorry. I will say probably the biggest thing that, it was very enjoyable, definitely up to par with a lot of the good ones. The thing that set this one in particular apart, probably from any other Marvel movie I can think of, this might have my favorite. I think everybody generally agrees it's one of the best, if maybe not the best, but certainly so far my favorite villain in any of the Marvel movies that have come out ever, really. Loki, but even Loki, like he's got a little bit more to him than just like he's not in just the one movie. A lot of the villains are just in the one movie that they come from, and that's it. But Ego, for being in just the beginning, middle, and end of this one film, God, conceptually, what a cool character. And I gotta say, I guess I wasn't too surprised to find out that the liberties they took with him were very, very vastly different compared to how he was in the comics, and particularly, I guess, the fact that the actual father character of Star-Lord was not utilized at all. And I mean, but then again, I also really liked, and I know I'm going to get crucified for this, I really liked the idea of the quote-unquote the Mandarin character in Iron Man 3, in the idea that they went with, which was vastly different from the comic, but I thought it was a really cool idea, and it worked pretty well. And not to say like Iron Man 3 is like among my favorite of the MCU movies anyway, because it's not. But like that particular aspect, because a lot of people were up in arms about the changes they made or whatever. And then again, even, you know, by the end of it, it's like, oh, hey, and then they have that short where he's in jail. What's his face, the actor character, and then like, oh, there actually is a real Mandarin that we're going to introduce at some point, and he'll be in there, etc. It's like, okay. But that said, yeah, I guess I don't know necessarily how upset people were about the change they made of having Ego be Star-Lord's dad in this version of the story necessarily, but I guess having not known anything, I was just kind of absorbing it. I wasn't having any kind of thought process while watching the movie of like, oh, is this actually how it was, or this is something that they changed? I guess because like I just am so unfamiliar with the source material anyway that I it's completely just fresh for me, which is good because Guardians has so much like cool stuff to it. It's so like weird and out there and like I guess alternative or whatever you want to describe it as. I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but yeah, and also like this cast of characters, like, you know, because I of course people know I do love my, you know, hapless team of idiots type thing. Drax fucking stole the show. I think everybody that went with me agreed that Dave Bautista is just the fucking most hilarious thing about any of these. He just always is just so much fun all the time, even when he, whether he's like actually being like funny or just being completely serious, like he gets the most amount of laughs, which is also funny considering like it always seems like Rocket and Groot are kind of the more like built for comedy characters because they're the most like cartoony and shit, and their like designs and their personalities, but and yet Drax trumps them in terms of his comedy like way more. I don't want to say that Rocket and Groot were like weaknesses of the film, but they definitely were like not highlights. They were just kind of like around to just be cute and funny once in a while. Baby Groot, it's been kind of interesting seeing a lot of some of my friends like responses to him, because they're just like, God, it's such a like obvious like cash cow move of like, we're gonna make Baby Groot merchandise and dumb bullshit or whatever, and yet everybody, like even the people who are saying that, like, but I'm falling for it because it's funny and he's cute and I love Groot and god damn it, why? Whatever, you know. So not to say that they're bad, you know, they're just kind of, I guess, fulfilling the status quo, as it were. Gamora is still the one that I'm just like, I want to like you, but there's not a whole lot. In fact, it's funny because in this movie, what, you know, the aspect of her that you were supposed to be more invested into was the whole stuff with Nebula, her sister, and who, funnily enough, now I'm more familiar with as an actress, with, what's her name, Karen Gillian, because of Doctor Who, because I've seen a few episodes of that. Thanks, Dan and Lauren, if you ever hear this one. But nonetheless, yeah, I like Nebula was the character that I was like more invested in, like as part of the main group, and in terms of like the lead girl, and also Mantis, who I was like just mostly worried she was gonna die the whole time, and she was actually a pretty fun source of comedy. So like, I don't know, I feel kind of bad because Gamora is just so like she's so token, I guess, in kind of the way that she is. Like, I want to like her, and it's not that she's like bad. Like, she's cool, and like I like that she's got like, I like her, you know, kick-ass sort of attitude and everything. But in terms of like being interesting, I feel like she was kind of on that same like area with Rocket and Groot, where they're just like, yeah, we're just here too, you know. And Star-Lord is, I mean, you know, Chris Pratt is that perfect casting choice, with him just being kind of like, I'm a dude or whatever, and it's like, that's true. And I mean, he's fine. He's not probably one of my favorite protagonists in like Marvel in general. You know, I've certainly grown to like him, and he's serviceable. But I think that definitely they gave him an interesting arc, and a lot of interesting things to do because of what was happening with Ego and everything surrounding him, I guess, as it were. And it's funny because talking about earlier the whole bit with and again, I don't know, so any Guardians and comics fans in general who want to, you know, enlighten me, please feel free. But you know, I don't know how much of actually a fatherly type relationship that he had with Yondu in the in the comics, you know, comparatively, or like if that same kind of like attachment was there compared to the movie. but I went like immediately with this movie from like, oh, Yondu's kind of cool. Oh, hey, it's that guy from Mallrats. Yeah, he's funny. I like him. To, oh my fucking god, I love Yondu. And not just because of the goddamn Mary Poppins meme, which, by the way, I was tempted to open up the fucking the theme song of this one in the beginning with fucking supercalifragilisticexpialidocious instead of Hooked on a Feeling, but I spared you that in favor of something shorter. Nonetheless, yeah, Yondu was great. He was a real highlight. And I'm also glad that he, like many good characters, and just like with Ego in this case, had a very good beginning, middle, and end. And granted, you know, including his time in the first movie, because he was cool in the first movie, but I really grew to like him in this one a lot more. And I am curious about his, I guess, the other Ravager guys with the Cameo City with fucking, like, Miley Cyrus and Sylvester Stallone. And apparently Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville and Justice League was the fucking like ice crystal guy mixed in there, and I was like, oh, cool. Hey, you're a DC guy usually. How about that? So they're cool. I presume they're probably going to have something to do with you know, some of the what's it called, the Thanos and Infinity War shit at some point. I was also joking a lot about how, like, man, I kind of hope that Nebula gets to be the one who kills Thanos, but at this rate, I can't wait for it to probably be fucking Tony or something. Just because he's like the star child of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I guess also now that, I guess because Guardians 3 probably won't be for a while, next time I'm incredibly curious to see how the Guardians are going to get involved with like kind of the rest of the Marvel world, because they're so disconnected from everything else, really. So that's going to be interesting now to see like where they're connected. I mean, because I'm sure they will be connected when it comes to the the Infinity War stuff, which will be happening I think next year, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, this was a great first one, because I don't remember if we've had any other one. Oh, no, we had Doctor Strange, of course. What am I talking about? Doctor Strange was good too. But yeah, so far we've been off to a pretty good start, I would say, in all the stuff that we've had this year, because Doctor Strange was really solid. No, I guess oh yeah, Doctor Strange was last year, wasn't it? God, I'm losing track. Oh, whatever. Then fine. This was a good start off to the year, and then we got Spider-Man, and then Thor Ragnarok, which I think will be really good. Thor is kind of on the weaker side in terms of the stuff that I'm interested in, but I am curious to see that. And hooray, Hulk will be back! Yay! So. Yeah, playing cleanup duty with the rest of the Marvel movies. I'm sure I'll probably do a Spider-Man one next month at some point, or I guess July is when it'll be out. Whatever, I'll do one for Spider-Man at some point. But yeah, I wanted to do a quick little check-in one with Guardians 2. Really enjoyed this. Yeah, Ego was a standout, like massively cool, conceptual and well executed villain. Had a lot of really good moments like scattered throughout this whole thing. Actually gave me a lot of really interesting ideas about, like, I guess, gods with lowercase g type characters, and having this sort of, like, spreading my seed across the universe type, like, weird creepo thing. And that big moment with him revealing what happens to the mom and then just being shot 8,000 times probably got the biggest laugh out of me of the entire fucking movie. Was pretty great. All the visual effects with him, like being the planet and like the core and everything, was all really like super cool and shit. The big final battle with like the snooty golden people and everything was interesting. Like, no, we're playing video games. No, our ships have been destroyed. It's like just funny enough. Like, yeah, like all the weird sense of humor scattered like throughout this movie was all consistent enough that it worked so well. These are very, very unique movies. Like, this is a very unique, probably the most unique of all the Marvel stuff that we've had, like in terms of the individual, like, you know, sub franchises leading up to everything. So this is cool. I would, you know, I've not seen any of the other material, but I am kind of intrigued now to check out like maybe like the Telltale game or like some of the cartoon or something. You know, I don't know how good those stack up to like some other stuff, but yeah, I've grown to become more attached to these characters now after the second one. Oh, and also very happy fucking Howard the Duck got a proper cameo, and I'm glad that it was Seth Green, because that makes me all sorts of happy. Funnily enough, he voiced Rocket Raccoon in something, I think in one of the cartoons for like a hot second, which was weird. Anyway, And then that's going to wrap us up. Quick one this time. Don't know what this weekend's will be. But yet again, I am accepting any Kirblog topics you might have. I know that there's a lot of questions people have about the game coming out and everything. We'll be talking more about that later on. But in the meantime, to tie you all over, if you have any other Kirblog topic suggestions for other stuff, Marvel-related or otherwise, I'm actually in the middle of watching the Daredevil series right now, if maybe anybody wants to hear anything about that stuff at some point, or anything else otherwise, let me know in the comments below, and that'll do it. And you know what? I haven't said this in a while. If you're not already, please feel free to follow me on Twitter or like the Tome Facebook page, where we'll be giving more updates about the Tome game project in the future and other such things. Please go for it. Like, follow my stuff and things, and prepare for other hopefully cool, interesting stuff happening in the future and junk. Thanks, everybody, and I will catch you all later. Bye-bye.